Well, when I was first married, I looked for a job and I found a job at a bakery. They needed a cake icer and a rose maker. And I was taught to ice a cake as smooth as a hat box and make roses. And I made trays and trays and trays of white roses and frosted all the cake orders to specifications. And the master decorator would come in and take my pre-frosted cake with the borders, and then he would take my pre-made roses, and he would put my pre-made roses on my pre-frosted cake. He'd squeeze a few leaves on, write "Happy Birthday, Joe," and he was the master decorator. And that's how I learned to make cakes. By my recollection, I would say it's almost 40 years. I was 20 when I did my first cake, and it was a family cake from my grandma, Alice. The most difficult cake that I've done, well, let's see. It would probably be red string work on a cake, on a white cake. String work is the lacy effect of loops of string on a cake. Because you can't do the string work till you have the cake set up. And the red is so bright and staining that you can't make a mistake or it drops onto the white surface, and then you have to work on trying to get that stain off. Probably red string work on a white cake. A lot of people like the waterfalls in their cakes. The waterfall is a separate assembly purchased. It's a fountain, electric fountain. You can dye the water. It has 3 tiers. I'm sure there are bigger, more elaborate ones for the king's and the queen's weddings, but this is a nice small and portable fountain assembly that the only restriction with using a fountain is you've got to have a pillar assembly large enough to go around the fountain and clear it so that the fountain fits in the structure. So I believe a 4-pillar plate or a 14-inch plate is about as small as you can go. Every structure for a cake has 2 plates and pillars when you're tearing up, and the top plate has fixtures on the bottom that the pillars fit into, and the bottom plate has fixtures on the top of it, which they're reversible. You can use them either way, but the pillars connect the plates, and so that fountain will fit inside those pillars. And then there's room for putting greenery or flowers or whatever you want around the fountain, and you can dye your water to match the other colors of the wedding. And they do like them, but you have to be careful with them. You have to make sure you've got good support. If your fountain is sitting on top of a cake, actually every cake that sits on top of another cake has to have support structure, and if there's a fountain with water in it, there's extra weight. So that bottom cake has to be supported inside with doweling pieces, which are cut to size, whatever the cake's height is. You have to cut evenly, enough doweling to give that cake, it's actually kind of honeycombed with doweling, but to give that plate support and stability to hold the weight of the fountain and then the other cakes on top of it.